All right, I can already hear you go, "Aww." That is my Labrador Newfoundland mix called Allie. And why am I opening this video with a shot of her? It's because she just celebrated her 13th birthday. Now, any of you know with larger dogs, when they get up to be 13, they're pretty much on borrowed time. And as much as we hope that she beats the odds and lasts for a lot longer, we don't have that guarantee. So I wanted to reach out to you kind of like I did when I was sharing the idea of relocating the workshop to another state, and all of you just chimed in and rallied around that point and shared so many great insights and ideas on great places to consider moving to. And so I thought I would do the same thing here. Prior to Allie, I had a Siberian Husky for 14 years, and that was the love of my life. Josh was just an amazing dog, red, white, and blue, like a walking American flag, literally. And I thought I could never love a dog more. And then I met Allie, who came from kind of a troubled past. She was with two different elderly ladies who actually, interestingly, were sisters, and they had her at different times. And they didn't understand her energy and her vigor, and their response to that, to try to calm her, was to hit her with a broom. So by the time she got to us, she was pretty protective and tended to snarl and other things, and over the years just softened and became this love dove of a puppy, now a much more mature dog. And so the long and short of it is, I know inevitably she's going to go to doggy heaven. And I wanted to invite all of you to share, what do you think the next dog breed I should consider as Allie moves on? I know that's kind of a dark question to ask, but you understand. So go ahead and post on Facebook your thoughts as far as the dog breed you think I should think about considering. Why that dog breed? Have you had that kind of dog, and what are they like, and what kind of traits or characteristics do they bring into the household? So at any rate, I wanted to open up the video with this. I know it's kind of heavy again, and I'm sorry for that, but you know, I value your opinion, and you gave some great insights on possible states to move to, so I thought I would bring this to you as well. So now, moving away from this, I wanted to go to something different and say, we never finished the topic of, I had asked all of you before, as I was preparing Brian's PFAFF 332 to go out the door, you know, these are some of the obvious oiling points on the 332. You know, 1, 2, 3. They're labeled in red. Could the Germans make it any easier? I mean, really. But I highlighted for you that on the motor itself, and I'm going to grab an extra motor that I have for a 332. On the motor itself, which is tucked underneath the bottom of the machine, it's not as obvious when you're looking at something like this that is out of sight, out of mind, that there's two critical oiling points here as well on either side. Let me move that over a little bit. Here and here, both sides. And again, this is on the bottom of the machine, tucked up, and 99.999% of the time, if I get a PFAFF 332, I can pretty much guarantee that no one in the life of that machine has ever oiled those 2 points, here and here. So that's a given. I pretty much know that to be the case. But there's another point, I alluded to it in the video. I'm going to put my motor back over here. There's another point I alluded to in the video that also is 99.999 missed as well. And it's because, again, it's not in plain sight, and it's not labeled or highlighted in red like these. And that would be this section right here. I'm going to tap it, see if I can make it even bigger. Now, what you're looking at, other than my thumb right there, is you're looking at, which partly is concealed underneath the cover of the 332, the bobbin winding tire right there. And you can see I've taken the bobbin winder tire off to make the oiling point more obvious, which is right there next to the timing belt that is adjacent to the balance wheel. So if you can imagine that there was a bobbin winding tire on there, it would all but cover that oiling point. And that's why so many people miss that oiling point on the PFAFF 332, is because when that bobbin winding tire is there, it covers the hole. People look at all the other obvious ones that are in red, like you can see up here, these right here, but they miss, for obvious reasons, that one right there. What could be more essential to the smooth operation and running of the PFAFF 332 than lubricating the point that generates the most viscosity and the most friction, which are the worm gears and drive points that come right off of that balance wheel that's spinning up to a huge number of revolutions per minute. So if you have a PFAFF 332, or if you get one, don't miss that oiling point, whatever you do, because it has a huge impact, along with a lot of other things as well that I do in my restorative process, but that's one of the things that could really make a difference potentially for you. All right, another thing I wanted to show you real quick is bobbin. The bobbin for a machine is probably one of the biggest gripe points that I've heard from people over the years, and that is you're right in the middle of a project, and what happens? The bobbin runs out, and you may have sewn another row or a couple of rows, and all of a sudden you're like, oops, I ran out some time ago, and then you're in a pickle. So there really is a huge incentive in having a larger bobbin. Size really does matter when it comes to bobbins, especially when you're dealing with a heavier type thread like I've set up Wilton's with. Wilton's machine has 92 size thread on it. That's big thread. That's probably almost 3 times the thickness, the girth of a standard Coates and Clark type thread. So that's heavy duty stuff. So as I was trying to help Wilton select the right machine, and that really is my approach. I get contacted several times a week and people are saying, where do I find your machines? You've got the best machines in the world. Where do I find the machines that you have for sale? And I always have to kind of take a back pedal and explain, well, see, I used to sell on eBay, but now I've got this inventory of machines that I've hand selected, close to 200 by the way. And what I do is I like to take a kind of a consulting approach with a potential customer and say, okay, explain to me what are your goals? What are you looking to sew? What kind of material are you going to have under the presser foot most often? How many layers? And then I try to steer them towards the machine that I really genuinely believe is going to serve them the best. There sometimes is more than one machine, like in Wilton's case. Wilton had to be budget conscious, and so I said, well, I've got the PFAFF 139, which is a phenomenal machine, has the same size motor as the PFAFF 332, a 1.3 amp motor. My first choice would be the Husqvarna 21A because it's got a great bed extension. It's got a slightly bigger motor, although really quite honestly, when you're at that level, a 1.3 amp German motor versus a 1.5 amp Swedish motor, you know, it's pretty much apples and apples. I mean, they're gonna deliver, especially after I've gone through those motors, they're gonna deliver at basically the same level. So I said, if you're more looking to you know, kind of manage your budget, let's go with the 139. So the other beauty of the 139, as you look at these two bobbins on the screen, is the one on the right is a class 15. Oftentimes people will say, oh my gosh, the class 15, it's got to be the biggest bobbin ever made. It holds so much thread. Well, until you move over to the PFAFF 139, which is on the left, that actually holds more thread than the class 15. It may be hard to distinguish in this shot, but trust me, after winding both of them multiple times, the 139 holds even more thread, which when you're dealing with the weight of thread that I've set Wilton's machine up with, a 92 size thread, you know what? You better have a bigger bobbin. So it worked out perfectly. So The next thing I would like to do is kind of move into some of these sew-offs. And you might say, well, Scott, what are you going to do to challenge this machine? It's got the same size motor as the 332. Well, we're going to do a couple of things. One is we're going to sew full grain leather, which is this one on the left. We're also going to sew a very thick layer of what I would describe as gun holster or saddle type leather. And as I zoom in on it and kind of show you the different angles of it, you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. And then we've got another leather on the right here that I kind of have overlapped right now, and that is genuine cowhide leather. So we've got cowhide leather, we've got like saddle leather, and then we've got full grain leather all the way on the left. I think this will give us a real good idea of how well Wilton's job is going to, Wilton's machine is going to do as far as his job of making wallets for people. That's his passion. He loves making wallets. I think it kind of started with family and friends, and now it's migrated into a business, and he's been doing all of this by hand. By hand! Seriously. So we met, he found me on Facebook, I believe, and we started talking, and eventually he got a vision for what his business could potentially do if he had a machine like this 139 that could just sew the pants off of any machine pretty much out there. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the needle, try to get a good shot of the needle here, and lock it in place. I'll get those bobbins out of the way, and let's just zip down some of these sew-offs. And I think I'm going to do all three. I may end up doing less than three, just because what's the point? Once you've seen it go through that saddle and gun holster leather, you're pretty much like, okay, we get it. You made your point, Scott. The machine's ready to go to Michigan, which is where Wilton is from. So let me go ahead and move over by the needle, and I am going to show you that saddle making leather first, just because I think it's amazing stuff. You can look at the grain of it. There's nothing lightweight about this stuff. If you made this, if you made this into a gun holster or a saddle, you know what? That's going to last pretty much forever, unless it dry rots or something like that, or is in some other way neglected. And as you look at it next to the sample that Wilton sent me, I'll try to bend this in half a little bit so you can see it kind of side by side. Maybe if I do it like that, it'll be, yeah, I think that'll be maybe a little bit easier. Let's see, get my hands working together here. So you can kind of see that side by side. And they are basically about the same thickness. You're looking at probably 7 to 8 ounces of leather. Wilton does have this little finishing piece on top, which is a real thin grade type garment leather. But in all honesty, this cowhide leather that Wilton has is not going to quite have the density. It's not going to quite have the density of this saddle leather. So let me go ahead and get this underneath the presser foot. I'm going to move these bobbins to the side, and we'll see how this this PFAFF 139, which if you're able to speak German at all, you may already know that the way we would say 139 in German would be 139. And as I was trying to pick up on the German language, because I love learning languages and cultures, and as I was in Germany, there was the opportunity over those 3 years to pick up some of the language, which was a lot of fun. I always had to remind myself that when they say numbers that are in the hundreds, the 10th position and the 1 position, you have to flip them. So if you're saying 139, you don't say 139, you say 193 basically. That's why it's 109, which is 9, and 30, which is 3. So, at any rate, for whatever that's worth, I'll get back on task. Okay, so this is genuine cowhide leather, but it's saddle and gun holster grade. This is the thick of thick. Let's see how this machine does with this task. I'm just going to make sure my take-up arm is at the highest position, and it is. And we'll see if we can zip down this. So here we go. Rock and roll. I kind of intentionally went up and down on the speed a little bit, just so you could see that you don't have to go full throttle in order to sew something as heavy grade as saddle and gun holster leather. Again, I know that when you're making wallets, control is a factor, and on certain points, if you have real tight corners, you basically have to turn that balance wheel to work around those corners. But to regulate that foot control is pretty critical as well. And you can see with your own eyes. I'll bring down this light a little bit more. It's obvious. That stitch quality, it can't get any better than that. It's absolutely spectacular. And again, remember, you're not dealing with a light grade thread here. You're dealing with a size 92 thread. That is like 3 times heavier than a standard Coats & Clark. I mean, this stuff is used in upholstery applications, leather applications, you name it. I mean, it's designed to hold basically anything together, and to, you know, to really have that strength factor and that tensile strength factor. And if we turn it over, we've got an equally gorgeous lock-in stitch as well. You can look at it from a couple of different angles. You get a wallet that has this stitching on it, you know what? It just shouts out quality. And I know that's Wilton's objective, is to deliver a quality product, and this PFAFF 139 is going to be a great tool for him. So I'm going to throw this to the side. It obviously gets a thumbs up. It's a beautiful, beautiful stitch off. I love it. So the one thing I did not highlight for you is that this PFAFF 139 is not a straight stitch machine only. It also has a zigzag feature to it as well, which is wonderful, because a zigzag feature is going to give a little bit more versatility, a little bit more choice from a stitch pattern standpoint for Wilton. Plus, this PFAFF 139 has engineered cams into it where you can even generate additional stitches beyond the straight and the zigzag. Now, Wilton may never even use those, but it's great to know that they're available just in case. You never know. Maybe he'll want to finish off some edges with more of a decorative style stitch. I don't know, but that's going to be totally up to him once this machine is in his hands as a tool for making his wallets. So what I'm going to do now is you're going to see the needle shift a little bit as I move this from a straight stitch to a zigzag, because that's what we're going to do with this leather right here. This leather right here is genuine cowhide. We've got 2 layers of it. You can look at it from the side, and in relation to Wilton's sample that he sent me, this is actually thicker than his sample. This is probably about 10, going close to 12 ounces of leather, and it's genuine cowhide, just like his. It's a different grade. Its leather can be processed in different ways, but it's going to definitely demonstrate the strength of this machine. So let me give this a try. I'm just going to fold it in half like this, slide it underneath the presser foot, and we'll see if we can zip down this, not with a straight stitch, but with a zigzag stitch. So I'm going to drop that. Actually, I have to raise my take-up arm to the highest position first, lower that presser foot, and we'll see if we can zip down this. I'm going to go ahead and move us over to a zigzag. And let's see how this amazing German engineered PFAFF 139 does on a task like this. Don't be fooled for a second. Going through 10 to 12 ounces of genuine cowhide like this, it ain't easy. It's not easy at all, trust me. All right, so here we go. Rock and roll. That is fun to throttle that up and down. There's so much control with this foot pedal the way it is. I probably at some point I should pull it off the floor and show it to you. It's a cool looking foot control as well. I love it. Let me go ahead and clip this, get those threads back into position. If we do a final sew off, I don't know if I will. I'm pretty much convinced at this point that his machine is ready to get the job done. So I might not. But let me show you this. first of all. Now imagine this as well with that 92 size thread, how that zigzag presents. Absolutely spectacular. I love the look of that zigzag, don't you? We'll turn it like this as well, vertically. Try to bring my other light in and brighten things up even more. That helps quite a bit, doesn't it? Truth be told, I forgot to turn on my other light because I opened it up with a picture of my beautiful dog and it was glaring, so I shut it off and I said, when you go back to the machine, Scott, turn the light on. I forgot. So, but you can see the zigzag a lot better now. You could probably go back to the other stitch off. You probably can see those stitches a lot better now too, can't you? With that other light on. Light is so important when it comes to sewing, whether you're on video or whether you're not. So it's spectacular. It's the spacing, the integrity of that zigzag, you know, it's spot on. If we turn it over, look at that. It doesn't get any better than that. It simply doesn't. That zigzag is absolutely spectacular. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. If this were like a finish off piece, you narrow it a little bit and created a nice little finish edge on one of Wilton's wallets. Can you imagine how that would look? Absolutely gorgeous. Another thumbs up on that, obviously. What a beautiful, beautiful stitch. You know, I've said it before on so many videos. So many people will try to talk to how many layers this, that, or what kind of material their machine might be able to sew or might not be able to sew. Who cares? Because I've seen some of the stitch output of some of those machines and it's absolutely atrocious. I mean, some of those stitches, they're uneven. The spacing is different. It's not consistent. The integrity of the stitch, it looks messy. It doesn't look finished. It doesn't look polished. You're not going to get that from this PFAFF 139 after it left my workbench. I want Wilton's wallets to become known everywhere. And I want him to be able to continue to market that great product and get so many more done so much more easily using the resource of this machine. All right, I'm off my soapbox. All right, what the heck? We'll do the final stitch off here with full grain leather. Look at it from the side. That as well is thicker than the sample that Wilton sent me as far as a target thickness for leather of what he's aiming for. So I'm going to give it my best to try to get through three layers of full grain leather as well with this 92 size thread. It's not going to be easy, folks. I'm just letting you know that up front. It is not going to be easy. Full grain leather, I mean, next to vegetable tan leather, you can't make the task much more difficult than that. You just can't. The way that grain and the way that the density of that leather, oh my gosh, we might as well throw a patio block underneath the presser foot with this PFAFF 139. I mean, it's just that is tough stuff. But let's give it a try. I mean, if I fail, I fail. If I succeed, then it confirms even more that this machine is more than ready to serve Wilton with his leather making. I mean, look at it again. That's our full grain leather right there. You've already seen what it can do to cowhide leather like this. Not with a straight stitch, but with a zigzag. You've already seen what it can do with this right here. Remember what kind of leather this is? Saddle or gun holster leather. And it just went right through it. Had a couple people send me messages saying, we love when you go. So there you go. But it is. I mean, a machine, when it makes it look that easy, it's almost like, for real? Is that really leather? Or what is that? Did you color something? That is saddle gun holster leather, folks. And Wilton's 139 just zipped through it like it was no problem. Easy. So let's see what it does with this full grain leather. Not one layer, not 2 layers, 3 layers. All right? Keep your fingers crossed, folks. I'd love to say this is easy. It ain't. And I said ain't intentionally. If any of you are English majors or English teachers out there, All right, here we go. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Rock and roll. All right, what did you notice? Tell me what you noticed. Did we take that task on and kind of pad our deck a little bit by using a straight stitch? Because I could have switched it back easily. I could have switched it right back to a straight stitch. I left it on a zigzag on purpose because that raises the stakes even higher. I mean, it raises them basically through the roof. Because when you get full grain leather like this, one layer, folks, one layer would be enough. Look at it from the side again. 1, 2, 3 layers of full grain. Look at it this way. I'm going to try to do it kind of like this so you can see it almost tiered up. And look at the integrity of that zigzag stitch. The spacing, the formation, the presentation of it. Think of it, again, narrowed and as a finishing stitch on the edge of one of Wilton's wallets. Absolutely gorgeous. And as we turn it over, come on now, really? A lock and stitch that gorgeous through 3 layers of full grain leather? Full grain leather, folks. Turn it like this. Look at it that way. Again, imagine that as one of the stitches on a wallet that you purchased as a special gift for a family member or a friend. I mean, the presentation of that zigzag stitch, all of the stitches, is just drop dead gorgeous. And you would be able to give that gift feeling so proud of the uniqueness and the one of a kind of what Wilton's going to do using this machine to make his wallets. I love this. Look at it there. Look at it there. Enough said. That definitely passes too. You know what? You just can't. It's so hard to beat German engineering. I've got to be cautious because I love so many machines. I mean, the 201s, the 1591s, the 301s, the 221s, the 139 PFAFFs, the 332 PFAFFs, the 130s, the 130-6. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There's Elna machines, there's Kenmores. There's so many miraculous, amazing machines if they're properly restored. Their potential is almost boundless. But the problem with most machines is people have accepted mediocrity. They'll get a machine like this, a 139, just like Wilton's, and they'll be able to sew 1 layer of full grain leather and they'll be like, wow, can you believe it? That's crazy. And then they'll stumble across our YouTube channel and they'll watch this video and they'll go, holy cow. That's what a machine like that can really do? And here's the reality. Here's the rubber hitting the road, folks, is we don't even know what the limitations of Wilton's 139 are. Okay, we went through this full grain leather with a zigzag. Done. Easy. We went through this saddle gun holster leather with a straight stitch, no problem, big deal. We went through this genuine cowhide, 2 layers of it with a zigzag. All of those sew-offs, the machine did it like, what's the big deal? When do I get a challenge, Scott? My goal in these confirmation sew-offs is not to max out a machine. I've said that before. It's to give a vision to people around the world. If a machine is properly restored and you take it down to a surgical level and you address every area on that machine to get it back to a point as close to as when it left that factory in Germany, then you see a vision of possibilities with a machine like this. Until then, you're kind of fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself into thinking that your machine is at that level. It's probably not. But if you take the time, like a number of the subscribers have, to box up your machine and send it to me, I guarantee when you get that machine back and you do the same type of stitching, number one, the quality of stitching is going to be through the roof. But beyond that, when you decide to test those boundaries with your machine, where before you hit a wall and you were stopped and you were like, I guess that's as far as I can go, you better be prepared to raise the bar. Because that's the beauty of a proper restoration, is all of a sudden where the bar was at this level, now it's at that level. So that's the fun of what I do. That's the excitement. That's the passion you hear in my voice, is opening people's eyes up to what these incredible vintage sewing machines can do, what their possibilities are. You know what I mean? I mean, isn't that really what it's about? You know, there's a saying, and one of my favorite quotes is, and I've worked in the business world before, and I've used this in business settings. I've used it one-on-one meeting with people, young people that are trying to goal set and decide what do they want to be when they grow up in life, what do they want to do. And I've said to them before, you know what? People don't miss their full potential because they aim too high and miss. It's because they aim too low and hit. And it couldn't be any truer than with vintage sewing machines. If you think you're going to somehow get your machine to me and then you're going to be disappointed when you get it back, you'll be like, geez, you know what? I really didn't need it to sew 12 layers of denim. I really didn't need it to sew 3 or 4 layers of full grain leather. I doubt that any of you are going to say that. You're probably going to take it to quilting classes. If you have a business, you'll probably take it to expos and you'll take it to other places and you'll be showing that puppy off, because everyone else walking through there that either is familiar with the machine that you have or has that machine at home is going to be like, because guess what? Their machine is not capable of doing that. And if you do have a business, how much more flexibility it gives you in developing that business when your machine doesn't have those limitations. When that wall that was stopping it before all of a sudden is moved. I mean, that is the cool stuff in life when it comes to vintage sewing machines. Moving those boundaries and just having fun and not having to worry and say, I wonder if it's going to make it through this. More like, where's the challenge? I appreciate you folks so much. I'm so glad that you're a part of my life. I've had the privilege to talk to somebody over the phone, through email, through text messages, and other ways like that. I feel so blessed to be a part of your life as well. And I'm so glad from the feedback that you give me that you find what I share helpful. And you delight in my passion for what we do, for what we're all passionate about. You know, not just in Wisconsin. And I have to point out Wisconsin because I recently did that post about possibly relocating my workshop, and I'm seriously thinking about it. And I got so many great insights from people around the country and the world on come to New Zealand, come to Texas, come to Maine, all over the place. And each one of you, in some instances, sharing specifically why. You know, no state taxes. You know, there's a need for you here. You know, you'll be closer to me. So if I have problems with my machine, I can drive over to your workshop instead of having to mail it to you. I'm willing to mail it, but how cool it would be to just drive an hour and boom, I'm at your workshop and you can resolve it on the spot for me. So I'm still struggling with that. And now I'm struggling with having just celebrated the 13th birthday of my beautiful Labrador Newfoundland mix that you saw at the beginning of this video. And the reality setting in that a large dog like her, she's already on borrowed time. And really welcoming all of you out there, any of you that are pet lovers, any of you that have dogs, because as much as I admire cats, I don't think I'll ever own one because I've been around them working with autistic kids. They're wonderful with autistic kids. And my eyes swell up and I start to talk like this. And so as much as I would, again, I admire cats. I think they're fascinating. Just because of allergies and that, I can't. So if you want to recommend cats, fine. Maybe a Himalayan cat, one of those big ones. But dog in particular, I tend to like larger dogs, but maybe you can sell me on getting a smaller dog when Allie passes on and goes to doggy heaven. So I'm looking for that input. Hopefully you'll give as much of an overwhelming response as you did to the possibility of me relocating. So again, let me know your thoughts on the next breed of dog I should consider. Why? What's so special about that breed? So God bless all you guys. Again, I appreciate you. Get involved with the channel. If you're not a Facebooker, consider it. There's so much stuff we do on Facebook. There's special posts I'm able to do. Don't miss that. Take the risk, set up a profile, go there, subscribe, like the Facebook business page, and I think you'll have even more fun than you are now just being a dedicated YouTube watcher. So, all right, that's all I'll say. No forcing, no pushing, but